All right, ready? I started the stream on Somehow We Manage. Hi, guys. We're here, not over on my own personal account. You could go follow that at twitch.tv/reviewing llama with two A's. Hey, plug. Oh my god, I can't believe I started streaming to the wrong fucking account. That's hilarious. I don't think I've ever done that one. I don't even know how it was on the other account. But anyways, we're back. Episode 9. I confirmed it. It's episode 9. Um, I got my good buddies here. Sam, how are you doing, Sam?
I'm living, brother. I'm living. How about you?
Uh, Trying to teach myself how to stream.
That is an everyday thing.
That's an everyday thing. Trying to learn how to do production. Try to learn how to edit videos. This is you. Whoever's a content creator out in this platform, I commend you because this shit's hard. It is not easy. All right. Well, let me pull up my stream manager and double check. Yeah, we're on the right one. Is my bitrate good? Are we not lagging anything like that? I gotta change scenes. Oh my god, we're falling apart here. This is a professional podcast, people. I swear, we're professionals in this industry. Oh shit. But anyways, yeah, episode 9. Because I'm pretty sure next week we have a little. Yep, next week we have a little surprise for y'all. I'm not gonna leak it quite yet. I'm gonna use the X to leak it, which everybody can go follow on podcast SWM. Um, it'll be a fun weekend on next Sunday. So we'll leak it a little bit as we go through the week here. But
I'm
um,
excited.
I'm excited too. It's gonna be a really fun time. I think I'm excited for everybody to start learning a little bit more about the people that we interact with. You know.
Yeah, and as we go on, we'll get more and more people coming through. Definitely moments where we're gonna have to for me personally, I'll have to reconcile uh some differences with some people in the past, which I think is good for the industry.
Really good for the industry, and not even to mention like yourself as well, because like it's. I mean, I'm sure for a few of them, it's been a few years since you actually spoken with people or these individuals. So
Yeah,
like being able to come back and be like, hey, listen, like let's forget about this. Let's duke it out live and figure it out. You know?
and I see no problem with that. Again, I've hung myself out to dry before. I've eaten crow. Whatever else you'd like to say, it's been I am more than open to learning and growing as an individual, especially inside and outside of esports. And as someone who's now sitting firmly outside of esports, um, it feels better. Feels like I can be a little bit more honest. Feels like, I mean, we've talked about it privately a bunch about how we handled each other, especially when we first met. We did not, we were not the most honest to one another, but that's just the industry.
Which is even funnier in the long run. Thinking about it is just like we've come together and created this over after about a year ago. Was it about a year ago? Yeah, I think it was in February. About a year ago,
Uh,
we were definitely throwing a few punches towards each other. Not even like angrily, just more of like negotiation punches.
oh yeah,
And
and
it's fun to think that you can like have somebody around even if you had like some issues in the past, you know.
I think that's the biggest. Again, I keep on saying the biggest, but realistically, it's not. It is not easy. Maybe I keep on saying this about being in esports, but it genuinely is a what is going on? Like, what it realistically can you do to keep your sanity while also trying to be successful?
Yeah, well, and the other thing is like, I mean, and this might have been like a horrible thing to me start thinking about moving into esports, but you always were stepping on somebody. Like no matter what you were doing, it felt like you were stepping on somebody's toes, and that's just like, for one, that's not my own morals, but at the same time, like that's what you felt like you had to do to survive most of the time.
I mean, and that's where I kind of come in this fact that like some of the guests that I want to bring on, I definitely had to use to get as a means to an end.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, yeah. also like you don't want to live your life with having like enemies, you know? Like I know there's a few people who like I've pissed off in my time in esports, but at the same time it's like I don't know, I wouldn't be afraid to go message them back, be like, "Listen, I know I fucked up." Like it's all about like recon reconciling, is that the correct word for this, with
Reconcile.
yeah, past relationships and trying to move forward, you know? Like that's kind of how I've always lived my life, is just like finding ways to better yourself, and if correcting those actions that you have done is a way to better yourself, then why not at least take a lunge at it, you know?
Yeah. It I think it really comes down to the maturity and who you are as a person. As much as I'd like to say, and the way I presented myself here, uh, even at my peak, as I've been sending acquisition emails to different companies and different teams, I realized throughout my pathway to esports, it's been, you know, my big break with Triumph. Even though I was on the straight and narrow, I was much more mentally healthy. I was much more down the direction of like not giving a fuck, right? I'm picking up a book called The Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and I've not read it fully yet, but I got to that point where I felt like I didn't need to give a fuck, which is good. But at the same time, that can definitely negatively affect people who deserve maybe a minute of your time just
Hmm.
to be like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work out.
Well, you even
Or
like to touch upon like just giving somebody a minute of your time. Like you've had plenty. You have had a few people who have been give you. They've given you a minute of their time. You know, and it's done wonders for you. At least like you were picked up a little bit by it. You know.
I mean, and that we've talked about this privately again, and we should definitely release behind the scenes stuff and highly edit it down because there's a lot of stuff that's
Yeah,
for sure private.
the hidden episodes, the lost episodes. They're somewheres in the files. I tell you, they are out there.
But I talk about just the intermediate interactions, and we'll leave their name at T. The like I go back and forth. I mean, I think I've said this multiple times. Let me see if I can find their original message.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
This what yeah,
from
that's still
T.
entertaining. Like the
Yeah,
original message is funny, honestly.
yeah. I said, hey T, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions when you have some time? They responded back, well, you've already asked one, so why not a few more? How can I help you? And this is at the pivot point for me where I go from being under the tutelage of Onassis, my mentor, like he is finally kind of taking me on, my brother in the sword, that he's taking a different path, you know, he's coaching much more analytically, I'm coaching much more from the soul and trying to nourish the soul. And both of us, I think, kind of at the time were not doing the holistic view as a coach. And like, no offense to Onassis, more than likely he does not respond to me anymore right now. Um, but like I was definitely searching for a little bit more, like, I guess, like, no offense to him, but someone in a management position, and he was definitely that person. And the fact that there was that motion towards, like, yeah, just ask, just send it. And I think I sent one, two, three, four questions. Yeah, like, what was it like to lead the team? I coached these players up to Owl Overwatch League, but I never felt like I had an impact. How do I improve that? And then specifically their organization, like, because that's when I learned about it. What was their internal looks? And then the immediate response was like, if this is too much of a touchy question, like, I don't mean to intrude. And the response is just like, why would it be a touchy subject?
Yeah, they're just down
So
to earth and like willing to like talk with you in the end of it all. And like that was that I mean, I've had a What? I was talking to you, the owner of Nouns Esports. I
Yeah,
remember I don't know if I told you about this, but I randomly had reached out to them. Like just randomly out of the blue, send them a text message. I think I kept the fucking text because I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna send you this privately just cause like
yeah.
um it it meant a lot because this was his name's Peter. He's the owner of Nouns Esports, but he's also TI5 champion, and that was like the first international that I ended up watching in Dota 2. And like I got a random message back. I was not expecting a message back, but he had open DMs, and I was like, you know what? Why not? And that's like the biggest thing is like you can't be like nervous walking into that, you know? You gotta these they're people too. Yeah, they've got higher positions. Yeah, they've like worked a lot like hard to get where they are, but at the same time like they're just like you and I. You know, they've worked in the industry, they know what the industry is like, and like I'm sure getting a message like that is honestly nice, you know? Somebody who
I
appreciates
think
your work.
yeah, and I do genuinely believe. I mean, we've talked about this too. Is this imparting of wisdom? I think when you get to a point, kind of where you're at, where I was at when I was talking to you when we were at Dilemma,
Yeah.
or when I was with Dilemma, and where you were being possibly acquired, there was a level of like, what is this little shit doing? And then afterwards, going like, you know what? There is a difference between what I think of him as a little shit for not responding versus him actually taking the initiative to ensure that his team gets the best opportunity being presented to them.
Yeah.
And that's why like we have stuck together as long as we have is just because of that. Like I think I think people like I'm a boomer. Like game recognizes game, and that was where I kind of went like,
Well, I was about to say it's like it was kind of a respect factor, you know, like I respected the shit out of you because I know you had experience. I know you knew what you were talking about. Like you and I like went back and forth a lot in the beginning. Granted, I did ghost your ass for a little bit there. But it was more of the fact that like I think over time like granted after that interaction, I don't think you and I had interacted for a while after that.
no,
I literally think it was until like November when we started working together again.
yeah,
But
and that was purely, and mind you, like there was another project that literally had your name on it, and it blossomed into the project that we worked on. And the only reason why that was even thought of was because of the fact that
oh,
everyone thought so highly of you.
I forgot about that middle ground project. I honestly that shit was out of my
We
brain.
don't talk about that one.
I mean, yeah, cuz
That one's
look,
off the record.
I'm looking at the messages right now between you and I, but 22924. That was like shortly after everything kind of fell through with Dilemma. And then out of
Yeah.
the blue, I'm just like, "Wait. Oh, cuz this was after Clay had brought you in, right? 10-7.
Yeah. Yep.
He listened through all the passing. Yeah, no. And then it was from there we hit the ground running, and I don't think we've really like. I mean, there was a small stint in there like in between, but I hate this new Discord layout. I'm just gonna state that I hate everything about this Discord layout right now. They updated this shit, and I don't like it. Everything feels so
I mean,
tight.
it keeps people employed. It keeps people employed. That's why they keep on doing this UI shit.
I
So,
hate it. Give me my legacy UI back. Oh
I
my.
mean, it used to allow you to do that, but they don't want to support legacy anymore, which,
Okay.
eh.
Can I do spacious? Does this look any better? No, this looks god awful. What the hell? You know, I saw people complaining about this. I have not been at my computer at all this week, like at all. And just like I saw a lot about it the other day and I was like, "No way it could be that bad. It's Discord. No way it's that bad." Holy crap, it is that bad. Oh, why am I getting a
I mean,
Fortnite fucking quest? Oh god. Everything's miserable.
I have no real idea as to the extent. I mean, on a side note with Discord, I mean they're thinking about IPOing, which is not good for gamers. It's really bad for gamers.
Can you explain that to me like I'm a caveman?
So an IPO basically means they're going to go out from a privately owned company. So like let's say I want to invest into a company, which I've
Um,
talked about. An IPO is an initial public offering, which basically says the company now wants to be sold to the public to raise uh, capital or equity into the company.
so almost like I could purchase
Um,
stock in it, correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Um, what that means for us doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing because then we are at the beck and will of the market rather than um what essentially is like for gamers by gamers.
I mean,
Um,
they did start making that transition to where it wasn't just a gaming thing around COVID, though, right? I don't know if you remember that whole like publicity thing that they started to do, where it was like you can host your meetings here, you could have your whole class here, you could, they were basically trying to like capitalize on the fact that we needed Zoom.
yeah.
Is this just a progression of that, trying to make it more
Yeah,
accessible to the public?
I think it's already accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's already in that space. I think the problem is they're experiencing so much overhead now. It's almost like an esports team. When like okay, for those who haven't seen the series, maybe we'll do a watch party. I'll put it on my channel so if we get banned, it will be on my channel. I don't even care anymore. Um,
Stuff to be
what was that
canceled
League of
by.
Legends mockumentary? Yeah. Mockumentary. Oh, players. Where you go from in the middle, like in someone's house, right? You're pugging in a tournament that is a weekend, or maybe you're going to a LAN event for the weekend, and then all of a sudden you're in Champion Series, kind of what's happening in League of Legends, right? I mean, it literally follows League, but it used to be locked out um, for investing.
Why have I never
You know,
seen
investor
this?
only purchases.
I feel like I should have
It's
seen
fun.
this.
Well, maybe we'll do that. We'll we'll get canceled for streaming. Or I'll get canceled for streaming it. Um, but there's as you get bigger and bigger, you get more overhead, right? As we've discussed. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm not going to name the individual, and they'll if they want to help us on the on building out somehow we manage. That's up to them and us to make that collective decision. Um, then you start getting more overhead, right? You bring another person in who has a different vision, and then let's say I bring someone else in, right? Or you want to bring someone else in. That's another person that we have to consider, right? And
Yeah.
then let's say we start making money, and then we start doing T-shirts, and then we start doing podcasts, and then we start doing sort of the Jake Lucky like fucking model where it's like you got to pay the bills, so you go to events and you have to collab with people to make more money and try and increase it. It's not linear. It's not staircased. The best way to say it is it's Sisyphus, pushing the boulder up a ramp. And if you don't push the boulder, if you don't have enough people pushing the boulder up the ramp, it's gonna crush you. And the thing is, it's exponentially harder to roll it up the ramp as you get higher up because of gravity. And you
Damn
get more
fucking
tired as you're
gravity.
pushing it up.
I hate gravity sometimes. I dropped a burger the other day. That's
Yeah.
immediately you
Three
said
second
gravity,
rule.
I was like, fucking hell.
3 second rule.
Not
So
at a restaurant. Hold up. I'm wearing the restaurant's hat right now. I don't know about that one, Chief.
I do a 3 second rule, but I only listen. So when I bake, if even when okay, I'm a little bit of a neat freak. When it comes to like stuff, weird thing. If someone touches my shit, or if like even when I'm making or baking stuff for friends and family, if someone touches my stuff, like my lemon bars I made recently, if someone touches it when it's not ready, I just toss it because it just grosses me out. So for me, if my chicken tender falls on the floor, fuck it, I don't care, right? But if someone else touches my shit that I'm working on, or it's going to someone else, yeah, no, that shit's going in the trash.
Yeah.
So, Sorry, chat. Anyone that's listening out there, I'm not that much of a psychopath, but I let
No, I won't deny.
let
I've
any.
definitely eaten some. I mean, I've definitely eaten shit that has fallen on the floor before. I mean, I think I've eaten a brownie off the floor. Like, I mean, I could go on and on. There's definitely shit that I've done that I probably shouldn't have. I will admit that live on cam. I don't care. I know all of you fucks have definitely eaten some shit that you haven't supposed to eat before. I know it. You can't lie to me. In your own home, you dropped some shit and you thought that was going to be really good. You can't tell me you didn't try for it. Fucking don't call me gross out there. Oh my god. I'm about to get my shit roasted.
But it going back to my thing,
Sorry.
it's so no. I went off track, but like it's hard to maintain a company that's continuing to want to grow when there's so many different personalities and different ways to do things. And some people have had successes different ways. They viewed stuff in different ways. Oh, and that reminds me, oh my god, I meant to send you the updated stuff. I literally finished it that night when we talked about it.
Is that why you hung
Our
out with me for so long after stream? You were just like, I want to
yeah,
finish
no, I was
this.
literally working on it in between deaths. For anyone in chat that doesn't know, we played a little bit of Marvel Rivals afterwards, and yeah, no, I literally in between deaths, I remade the stuff just for my friend over here. Like George was asking me to redo everything, and I did it, and I can literally take a screenshot and I'll send it over.
That's
But
awesome. No,
it,
that's fucking awesome. Cause yeah, I mean, Sam and I are so a little bit of background about Sam and I. We kind of are like we like to be educational and we like to try and like teach ourselves a lot of stuff, try to teach others how to do stuff, and also like develop our own ways of like doing things. I'm trying not to like leak everything because I'm not gonna lie, like it's good shit, you know? Like there's some stuff in there that if it got into the wrong hands, I would be afraid, you know? Actually, no,
yeah,
I would be genuinely afraid if it got into the incorrect hands. But I don't know. We're just educational people. Like we try to teach others about the scene and try to help. I mean, we got that message the other day about our friend who like said that they watched the first two episodes of the podcast and like really learned a thing or two just by listening in between the lines, you know? Or I don't know if I got that message or you get it. Yeah, we both got it.
both of us did. Both of us did. But um, it's just going on that subject specifically in regards to like why we don't share this document in particular. Um,
I mean, honestly, if you went to the last podcast episode, you might be able to pick a thing or two out of there. I was leaking left and right. I'm not gonna lie.
but it's pretty straightforward, and like I guess I find it a little okay. The reason why we don't say it is because if someone takes it and it fails and flunks, they're gonna blame us or the the chart itself.
Yeah,
And the problem is neither are wrong. It's just you have to put in the time to really understand the mechanics of what we're doing, and it's a very broad stroke, or at least mine are very broad strokes. George has done such a better job of explaining the minutia of it, the smaller stuff of it.
mm-hmm.
But it's a difficult hold off to be able to tell people exactly why certain things work the way they do, and then have them go, well, yeah, that makes sense, because they really don't want they want the easy in, easy out. They don't want the hard truth of the matter, which it sucks. Like it genuinely sucks. Like I want people to be successful. I just don't want them to be successful because they didn't they got it through dumb luck. Let me say it that way. They used our stuff and got it through dumb luck.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and even then, like, I mean, not saying it's been fully tested, but a lot of it shows in the current scenes that we've developed and like we've been a part of that it does work, but not anybody's really accomplishing, you know? there are ways to
Yeah.
prove it because you could take bits and parts of so many different pieces and put it together, and you could say this, if they did all this, if these guys came together and did all this together, then it would work, you know. Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me.
And we've gone pretty, like, I'm not gonna say like we've done market research and done all this stuff, but it's pretty straightforward. Like when we've talked about this and we've basically test bedded it in a way that's pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from 100 Thieves to, I mean, realistically, you've done it through Nouns too.
Yep.
It's it's not hard to see when the writing is on the wall for certain teams and organizations. Like, I mean, this is a little bit of a leak, but like even if we were to look at Liquid, and we've talked about Liquid a little bit, like they've made major mistakes, and the only reason why they've been able to sustain out of them is because they are doing everything else right. They've
Yeah.
been able to do things the correct way. And I'm not here to tell anyone else's business, but that's basically what it is. Like that they are doing it better than anyone else, and I cannot sit idly and be like, "No, they didn't follow our stuff." No, they don't need to. That's the answer. Like they're doing it much better than anyone else, and they're doing it the right way. So,
I mean, even then, like, I mean, I'm scrolling through Team Liquid right now. They're doing a road trip pop ups for different cities that they're visiting for the 25th anniversary. Like, that's cool. You know, that's an interesting, engaging part towards your community.
as it should be. It's I think it's extremely humbling to see that happen because I want them to succeed. Like I want them to do fucking amazing. Like I don't think there's a single org I would well, I take that back. I think there is an org. But uh I mean a hoodie org, I don't know. I don't know how long they can last and for everything else. I mean, we talked about it last week with Nade stepping down
Yeah.
to a different role. It's
Was
not
that
working.
Nade? Oh, it was Nade. Yeah.
Nade and the president step down and they're becoming board members. I mean, the crazy thing too is Valkyrie is a part owner of the organization. So those are all conversations that like maybe she wasn't there for it, but in a investors meeting, that's stuff that happens. Like it's months, if not years ahead of time, or it should be years ahead of time to notify ownership of changing of CEOs, changing of major staff members that made the organization work. It's like the best way I can describe it for anyone out there that doesn't understand esports, maybe you want to tell your parents, so hit the the clip button.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're going in to the doctor's office and they knock you out, and then all of a sudden you've had a heart transplant.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'd be rip shits. Are you kidding me?
But here's the thing, but let's say it's a better heart. Let's say like weird shit aside, let's say it's from a healthy person. Like let's say you were slightly unhealthy, but nothing that was not unmanageable. They literally get you a perfect heart.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
I'd
great,
I think
but
I'd still be upset no matter what, you know?
yeah.
And
And
that
that's the problem is
yeah.
like if you're an owner, like what do you do? Like and that's been you'll see this like I'm going through and I'm looking at like Pulse and I'm noticing like one of the original like people in there had to be was a coach and now he's a player. I don't know what his current status is, but like that's a core part of the organization. If they left, if he left, what would be the results? Like same owner, maybe slightly similar team members without the core team member that made it happen. What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, it definitely, I mean, it changes. I mean, at least relating to the transplant thing, it's like you change your mindset and be like, well, like I don't, this isn't mine, and like I didn't expect this, and then at the same time, like with an esports organization, like you didn't expect that, like especially if they didn't give a lot of notice on it, it can change your mindset and your mentality within an organization very quickly, you know?
Yeah, I get yeah, and that's I guess like what is going like what is going to happen to this organization specifically?
Yeah.
Whether
I mean, it's gonna take. Yeah,
I don't,
it's definitely gonna take a second. It's
I,
gonna.
I do want to know.
I mean, there's an adjustment period that comes with it, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Like, the adjustment period might take, for one, too long, and for two, it just might like become an issue more than it was a helpful thing. You know,
Oh, 100%. I,
dude, Halo is popping off, dude. I don't know
I
if
mean,
you've.
I'm happy that Halo's popping up. Like, we need more, like, reaching back. Like, I keep on saying this, like, reaching back to grassroots efforts. And like, Halo, what is it looking right now for Halo?
So the recent tournament was the K-San Showdown. So I think it was 100K prize pool on LAN. Uh, Looking at peak viewers of 45,000 viewers a peak, which is insane for Halo, if you ask me. And
Yeah,
then over 303,000 hours watched, over a 9 hour airtime. They kept above a 30,000 mark for average viewership.
that's good, though.
I mean that's insanely good for Halo. You know, like just thinking about like the where Halo was like what 2 years ago. It was not saying it was irrelevant, but it was partially irrelevant. You know, like it wasn't your ALGS, it wasn't LEC. You know, it wasn't these big tournaments. And I'm not gonna lie, like it was that one Las Vegas tournament that really popped off for Halo. I don't remember what it was called. It was like the level up tournament. I can't think of. Yeah, level up expo. But this is what I'm saying is like it's growing in a healthy standpoint where organizations are now like noticing it again, you know, and people who have been in there. So like Space Station, I know has been a Halo organization since their like conception. But like now you've got Shopify in there, and you've got oh boy, now I'm gonna look like a fool. Who else is in here? Shopify, Phase, Cloud9, Luminosity's in there. We don't talk about Complexity. Wait,
Yeah.
when the hell did
I,
Complexity get a Halo team?
they've always had a team. I think they had to release them, if I'm correct. But
Since January.
yeah, they picked him up in that tracks.
I don't know what team was this. I don't even know what team they picked up. Now it's a partner, so they're partnered with the Halo Championship Series.
I mean, they might have retained like on a Ghost skeleton crew, or
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, a skeleton crew within the organization to keep the name while also being a part of it, without losing the whole organization or the organization as a whole.
Well, and even
Uh,
like, I mean, Kaysen, so he was a partner with the recent like the showdown that just went down. He's looking to do more tournaments for Halo and Call of Duty, which I mean, Call of Duty is a standalone in my own opinion. Like, I don't think Call of Duty esports will ever really die off.
yeah.
But Halo had its dip, and now like people are interested in like pushing it back, you know, and like the pushing it up the hill kind of deal is kind of big, especially if like I know the Halo community will push behind it because they're passionate about what they do.
Well, I want to see Halo successful because it is kind of a litmus test for. I don't know. It's a pretty good litmus test for what's going on, and whatever that may be. Um, if everything's kind of sinking, like Venice, like the whole city is sinking, being esports. Like Halo is up there for being the first one to know that they're the first people to feel the water underneath their feet.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm even like, I mean, what? So, you know me, I follow Pokemon everywhere it goes. Over this past weekend, Pokemon hosted a tournament in Japan, and then they had all of their online March Cup qualifiers all at once. And I'm trying to find the number right now, but I don't think that it reached over 10,000 viewers. Yep, right there. Asia Champions League. All right, it did reach above 10,000, but it was only about 17. It barely broke 20. And that was a major tournament over in Japan. Like it was LAN, it was dedicated to Pokemon Unite only. Yeah, it's just I don't know. Like I think of Pokemon Unite as like grassroots almost, just because of how hard it is to like get noticed, especially within the Pokemon scene when you have VGC and the trading card game being so prominent for them.
yeah,
And like I mean I could go back into my numbers and actually compare it, but I'm pretty sure comparatively to 2024 we're down significantly, which is making me a little bit nervous on that end. But I mean that's me talking about Pokemon, you know. How about Canada popping off with its esports? I don't know if you
oh,
looked at anything like that, but Toronto Ultra is a COD team, I'm pretty sure, that's hosting one of the majors for Call of Duty. Their tickets sold out, and Valorant Masters sold out. Granted, I will say, and I think you and I were talking about this a little bit, I don't know if it's scalpers or not. I can't genuinely look into that sort of information. But the fact that tournaments in Canada are selling out might be a big thing for that region overall, you know?
was it? Did we talk about it last week? Let's see, where is it? Where they were complaining about it being away from Toronto, like Toronto Central, the Call of Duty tournament. Uh,
Oh, I don't know if we did. I don't think we did. Yeah, I think
so I
it's
think it was Hex. Let me see. The major. Let's see. Where is it? Stage three. Is this gonna be it? Canada major. Let's see. When is that?
yeah, Toronto Ultra Major. Yeah, it's hosted by Toronto Ultra. Major
Yeah.
3.
Then
Yep.
that's cool because I like kind of having these home game aspects of like they're in not neutral territory. You have to fight. Wait, did they already do it? I'm confused.
I don't think so. Stage 3. That's the
Let's
Miami
see.
Heretics one. Why can't I see?
2025. I'm looking at the 2025 Call of Duty.
That's a
Let's see.
minor.
Up and coming
Oh, yeah, it did go on
25.
already. January, February. Why do I feel like there's another one that's coming up here?
There's another one. Hold on. Trying to remember how to spell hex. Let's see. Optic. Where's hex?
No, there's another one that's coming up here.
Let's see.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I swear to God, I was just seeing it. Unless Toronto, I'm seeing the wrong thing and Toronto was just popping off. No, no, no. Challengers Finals, right here. I found it. Call of Duty
Oh,
Challengers 2025 Finals. Eh,
Now, can I check? Yeah, because I thought I was going crazy.
I thought it was too. I was like, I swear to God, I just saw this, and yeah, the tickets sold out. Although it's not Toronto, it's Kitchener is where it's gonna be.
It's outside of Toronto. I'm trying to find the video. Um, if I hear people bitch, moan, and complaining about, oh, it's not in the middle of, the city, like, I, I don't care. You're literally flying there. If you don't like what's going on, leave the $20 million league or complain directly to the the organizers and make it happen. And if
Well,
you don't want to do that because you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings in the organization or Call of Duty, like the organizers, maybe you shouldn't be saying it to begin with.
okay, I'm gonna throw this in here. Oxygen Esports is still a thing.
Yeah, we don't talk about them. I have very bad blood with them. We don't talk about them.
No, I know. Because I just saw Boston Breach, and they're still a part of Call of Duty too. That's wild. Okay.
I mean, I will straight up say this every single time. If you do not know what's going on, if you cannot talk to your owner and your owner is hiding things, especially violent crimes committed by one of your players, and I will stand on that because I have evidence. I don't care. Fight me. Um, yeah, if you're hiding that shit, yeah, good luck. I'm gonna be spending every minute of my life telling every single one of your investors that you've been hiding something. Because, yeah, businesses require disclosure, especially if there is that level of bullshit. That's not good. That's very, very bad.
Yeah, no, that's wild. I honestly, that's wild to me. I didn't even expect to see that name. That name just shook me. Seeing that shook me a little bit. I don't even know. I don't know much about Call of Duty personally. Like I don't pay attention to a lot of it. I know you did at one point with your what was his name? Felon?
Which one?
Felon when you were in Triumph for Call of Duty.
Oh, oh, yeah, Fallon. Yep.
I just know you were paying attention a little bit more about Call of Duty than I have, but like I mean LA Thieves and FaZe kind of go head to head in this scene, don't they?
Yeah, the thieves are the thieves. Like, if you think about it, that's 100 thieves. That is their organization. They are big dogs. I mean, it's Nate Shot, and FaZe is FaZe Banks. They are, that is Brother Banks. That is the
Yeah.
man that allowed his team to get got by organization like other investors, much like Hex. That's why I don't shed a tear for them when they literally don't understand business. When literally Hex, I think, is a realtor. I'm pretty sure he's a realtor.
Hmm.
Before all this, he should know how legal works. Even if he doesn't, he needs to have a really good lawyer. And if that lawyer is fucking him over, he needs to fire that lawyer. And if he's not firing that lawyer and he's letting all that happen, then I have no excuse. Like, you stop crying on the timeline.
Yeah. Well, even yeah. Even looking at like I'm trying to figure out what's going on this week because this is like I said at the beginning of this podcast, this is the first time I sat at my computer. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't looked at any esports shit going off this year or this week. Rocket League is doing Rocket League things, I guess. I mean, I don't really consider Rocket League that a big of an esport, but they still got lands going on. They've always had stuff going on, but I don't think they're doing numbers like other games, you know.
Yeah.
Looks like North America won the recent tournament for Rocket League. I don't even know what that was. The Birmingham Major, or is this
I want to
still
get
going
your
on?
opinion on this.
Go
Or
for it.
I'm gonna send the link.
Mm, Any thoughts? Open feedback. I mean, that kind of already exists, though. That like, I'm not quite understanding into the idea of an academy team. I mean, academy teams exist to feed into other organizations, but at the same time, you can't. There's a non-compete. You know, you can't compete if you're a part of an organization that's already at the top. So like, you're gonna cuck players that are good to compete at the highest level. You know, that's my honest opinion about academy teams. That's why I as shady as it seems, I would prefer a ghost roster opposed to an academy team.
I mean, that's. I mean, if we're going to be very transparent, which I think is completely fine, I think the idea, especially of the links you sent me in regards to Polestar and the possible acquisition or partnership with FlyQuest, provides more evidence to the fact that it doesn't matter if the money wasn't there for Polestar. It doesn't matter whether or not there was a lack of communication. If FlyQuest definitely or genuinely wanted a baby roster, a feeder roster, a community run supported and initiative to support up and coming players, they'd be chomping at the bit to do so, and they would be spending money to go do so. And they didn't. And mind you, maybe they did. Mind you, let me add a little caveat to that. Maybe they did DM ownership. Maybe they did DM players. Maybe they sent out smoke signals. Maybe they sent a UAV, right? Whatever they did, they might have tried to communicate to Polestar. But for what's being presented, what's being shown, what's actually being legally within their confines to say, it sounds like they reached out to ownership. They were dealing with money problems already. And like the post had said, I don't think there was any monetary exchange. All it was for clout and some support from coaches and managers. But the reality is, FlyQuest would never, like, I may not say never. 8 times out of 10, I would say FlyQuest, if FlyQuest got a request from Pulse to ask for a coach or manager or staff member to review their VODs, they would be too busy. So what does Pulse get in return for all this? A tweet from FlyQuest about them having a partnership. Like, so going back to the original thing, like, what does YFP acquire? And mind you, that's who we're talking about. What did they get by saying we want an academy roster? They're not connected to any sort of major organization right now. And it's clear that they've left all other esports. It's because it's so damn expensive, and they're not really making major content or headwinds in content. They just want to shop around their good idea. You know what it is?
Even like,
It's it's me inviting you over for a beer, you showing up, me having an empty like jug with beer ready to go, me going like, "Hey, I invited you over. I kind of expected you to bring some beer too." And there's no beer from me to begin with.
yeah,
Yeah, sure, I'm hosting. Yeah, sure, like I invited you and I cleaned up and did all this stuff for you, but you still have to go home. You still have to like
go
you
pick it
still
up.
arrive.
Yeah,
I should have at least brought enough beer for one round.
yeah.
And that's kind of the sentiment I get from these organizations where it's like, "Oh man, well we're trying to be a partner roster." I'm sorry, like FlyQuest doesn't care. I'm sorry to YFP. They Organizations don't care about your academy rosters. That's coming from me, who literally built academy rosters for the organization that kind of built academy out. We like fuck Nixel. My response is fuck Nixel and XL2. XL2 was such a not a grassroots, not an initiative. It was literally astroturfed to shit, and they paid every single player, and they had paid coaches that were professionals, mind you. Like shout out to Kidda, like she deserves the world. She did an amazing job. Like that's not grassroots. That's not real. That's not. I'm sorry. That's not like that is a true academy roster. for professionals. It's not you begging and pleading for an organization to take you under their wing. They're not
Well,
going to give you shit.
I'm even thinking, yeah, that's kind of my thought process with academy rosters. Like, what the point? My thing is with academy rosters, it's a first of all, having a roster alone costs a lot of money to maintain. You know, you already have your main roster that you're probably paying, that you're probably doing content around, that you're sending to these tournaments, that you're paying for their spot. You know, you're already like dishing out thousands of dollars for this main team. When I think of an academy roster, I more think of a content roster. You know, I think of it more as being able to promote in other standards as opposed to you sinking all your eggs into one basket, I guess you could say. You know,
Hmm.
but most of these academy rosters, like for one, it's like a desert, it's like a wasteland, it's like the Wild Wild West. A lot of these players are gonna leave. A lot of these players are gonna be coming back in, coming out, going to upper tier teams, and then basically getting dropped in the next couple months. And I'm not gonna lie, like it's gonna reflect on you a little bit. And at the same time, like I genuinely don't feel like it they're really relevant in the scene. Like there might be a few that have like made a name for themselves, but even then, like not exactly. And I think we were talking about it last week with League of Legends. Like there's Blue Waters. That's a separate
Yep.
team, that's a separate entity. That's not Team Liquid, you know. They are partnered with Team Liquid, but it's not them. So basically, and this is what I'm talking about, like with Ghost Rusters. Even then, they publicly admit that they are a subsidy or partner with Team Liquid, but it's a different set of individuals and a more of a shared kind of deal where, like, yeah, I can freely ask a manager or a coach up in Team Liquid to help, but at the same time, like, they don't have to say yes. They don't have to give up what they're doing. And it's more of an affiliation. That's why I like this a little bit better, this kind of setup, because it separates the two teams while also having shared entities. And if Blue Otters, or not Blue Otters, if Team Liquid ever needed a player, they could help Blue Otters find a replacement for whoever they're going to take. And honestly, wash their hands clean, you know? Because that's got to be an easy transfer across the two.
I mean, it should be. It's a matter of whether or not it actually gets done. I think that's the best way to say it.
And even like the Polestar and FlyQuest thing, like I bet you the FlyQuest was trying to do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And even like I mean Dark Zero walked backwards and did a collaboration with Maryville, right? Like they're not a tier 1 organization, but they're using the collegiate system to fund or bring up a team and bring in players as they need.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the system, but at the same time, like organizations, and I mean we're saying YFP right now. YFP, do they really have enough money to fund 3 rosters? And what are they going to do with that third roster?
And it is even like at this point, they've talked about trying to spend money on their editors, their creators, everything in between, right? They've really tried to take the time. Oh, I found the clip for Call of Duty, thank God. Um, but yeah, so here I am. Let's say I'm talking to ownership. I I am a professional general manager. I have done this before. I've worked Triumph. I've done this type of stuff. I was a part of the Ghost team while we were acquiring a new GM, but I was helping run day-to-day activities. My fee typically, if I'm now looking back, like if I'm bringing this up now, my fee is at least $60 an hour because I'm dealing with all the bullshit. And to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't want to do it. What I would take is an advisory position, much like I've mentioned to you and multiple times, which I have done with multiple projects with y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say in turn for you, if I'm in an advisory position, I'm taking equity. Like I've mentioned, I'm taking equity out of the company. I am not taking a salary. So any salary I would get, I would suggest for you to get. So at $60 an hour to deal with their bullshit, is that worth your time? Let's say you need a manager for the team. That needs to be done, right? Let's say teams don't get paid. Let's say your editor, or like let's say your editors, your content creators, there let's say your content creators are getting paid on the back end in the sense of we don't take a cut from like organization Buffalo. They get to keep all their money. They just need to slap our logo everywhere and make content. Our
Yep.
editors are paying, or I'm paying the editors now for that, right? Like that's expensive. $30 an hour for an editor is expensive, brother. That adds up over time, and that's something that is industry average. I'm not going to pay them 18 an hour because like they're going to get upset one time and scam an organization. Surely that hasn't happened, right? That surely hasn't happened around me, right? I mean, not to say anything out of turn, but yeah, that totally has not happened to me before in an organization that, I worked with.
Smile and wave, boys.
Wasn't my
Smile and
fault.
wave.
But like, how much are you willing to go down that rabbit hole to make an organization solid? And I think Nima did, mind you. Excuse me if I mispronounce your name, brother. If you're listening to this, if somehow we get in contact and you watch this, um, I like the idea of YFP. I think grassroots is everything. I want to see it successful. I want to see it real. But when I saw the numbers, brother, oh my God! If you're thinking that much money and the scene is not helping you, it is not your requirement anymore to help them. It's clear that no organization actively wants to uplift you to the point where you're soluble.
Well, and yeah, that's the other thing. Is like, yeah, you could support grassroots, but I'm not gonna lie, grassroots is meant, and like, correct me if I'm incorrect here, but it's meant to help individuals involved. Like, the reason people enjoy grassroots so much, or at least grassroots games, is because it's things that a niche amount of people like and are willing to support. Oh, damn, they really have the money just straight out there.
I mean, this is what I advised with Dilemma.
Shit.
Yeah, look at the salaries. Look at the subcontracting.
Yeah, that's insane.
If you saw that in your restaurant, what would happen?
I would
Tell
be
me
shut
really.
down within the next month. Like, we run that right now at, I think we're at, oh,
Don't leak anything. No, don't leak anything
well,
bad,
like,
brother.
thinking about last year, like, I know last year's sales, like, we had a lot of repairs in the restaurant, and like, that's the main thing with the restaurant is like, we needed a lot of repairs, so we were at least 20K down, and we're still okay this year just because like it was stuff that had to be done, and that's just an estimation, but that's crazy. We would be shut down in the next month if that were to happen. We would have been turned into a different restaurant. The whole building would have been sold. Because the other part about my restaurant is the fact that we own the whole building that we run in. So we get rent and electric from others, but at the same time, that's used to pay the the lease. And if you can't, like, if looking at these numbers, like, you can't pay the lease with those numbers. Fuck. Esports, this is a balance sheet for 20. Yeah. And doubling down on it too. I'm curious. Like, I'm looking at results right now because at the same time, hold on. If I go here, what else is being produced here?
Oh, I have an update on news.
Oh, all right.
and I figured this was happening. I'm gonna send this over to you. This will
Uh,
be interesting.
oh. First one, League of Legends team. So what is this? What is that place? Okay. Okay. I mean, I guess everything ended up being okay.
So that's a by the way, that is a first sponsored. So that's an interesting thing. I've talked about language a bunch. I won't leak too much because it does. It's kind of an important aspect. There's a difference between partnership and sponsorship.
Yep.
Um, the language is extremely vague. That's okay.
I mean, it says new owner so it's said in two there's two different languages being used here. Sponsorship and partner.
So that so what I'm assuming from the new owner and president of Odin Gaming, I'm assuming that is in regards to um message from Odin Gaming's new owner. Okay, so Odin Gaming is now owned by Sean,
Yeah.
and they are now partnering with said organization, which I think is fantastic. I think that's a major move forward. I think that is like good on them for that shit.
I mean, considering where we left off on March 5th, seeing this released and announced, you know.
But the thing is, it's a PC manufacturer.
Yeah.
I can count to infinity of how many PC manufacturers exist. Um,
Huh. I mean, that's not bad. Like that's good on their end and like considering the spot they were in at the beginning of the month, like big ups to them. But at the same time
totally.
like I already saw a falter once. And if it's a partnership that makes me a little bit worried almost, you know?
And that's why I think I'm going to send my message out when I will, just because I need to know. Like I want to know, and if there's an alleviation of money to them, that will help a lot in the futures for them. I'm excited. Um, we'll have to see. I go back to the old adage. I think I've told you. Making a long story short, the from a movie called Charlie Wilson's War. Uh, a woman tells her her father, "I'm having a child. Isn't it great?" And the father says, or her father says, "Yeah. I mean, we'll see." There's complications with the birth. She says, "Oh my God, this is terrible." Grandfather says, "We will see." The kid grows up, rides a horse, and she says, "That's great." The mother says, "That's great, right?" To the now grandfather, and he says, "We will see." The son breaks his leg. This goes on until the war happens, and she goes, "It's so terrible. He broke his leg," and he says, "We will see." The war happens. Guess what? He's not eligible to be drafted because of his broken leg. It's this whole idea of you don't know what exactly is happening until you have the full picture, and you will
Yeah.
never have the full picture.
No, and
So,
nobody's really going to give the full picture ever, you know. A lot of esports stuff is just locked behind doors that you have to figure out how to open and like most of us don't get that opportunity to open those doors.
and that's why I'm taking the initiative that I am when it comes to this possible offering. Um, But yeah, I want to. I definitely, as someone that is down in the, I don't really want to deal with that type of bullshit. I want to take kind of a right turn. I want to send this link to you so we can talk about this again. Talk about pestilent children complaining.
They really complaining about it?
For anyone who is looking for the clip, it's on Jake Lucky's timeline, March 22nd, 2025, around 9:35. It was from Spawn Up, excuse me. He quote tweeted it. They are currently talking about Canada definitely deserves more esports, but having a COD event in Kitchener, Canada is certainly a choice. And in regards to this clip, um, they're complaining about it being 40 minutes away from downtown Toronto.
Even then, like you should be Canada. Okay, listen, Canada esports like may have been a silent giant that hasn't been woken up in a while, but Canada esports reminds me a lot of like the glory days of Ohio esports. You know,
Very much so.
like it is extremely popular, but nobody capitalizes on it or even like tries to include these big industry leaders, you know? Like I don't even really know how to describe it more. It's just more of like genuinely feel like that inclusivity, especially like in North America, isn't available, you know? It's usually gonna be hosted in Los Angeles. It's gonna be hosted in San Diego, Dallas, like a lot of places
Austin.
that individuals can't normally reach, you know?
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, like coming from somebody who's from the East Coast, like I am from the East Coast. I personally, like, I've been to one tournament in my lifetime, and granted, I know there's been a lot more in Boston and New York than before, but New York is also 4 to 5 hours away from me, you know, and that's I need to get a hotel, I need to travel. Like, if there's more space for more individuals to show up, why would you hate upon it, you know?
So, what makes me really mad about this commentary specifically, I would be on their side, being like, why is this not hosted in Toronto? Except for the pure fact that Kitchener probably gave Call of Duty League a sweetheart deal to be in the auditorium. It looks like a beautiful auditorium. I just looked it up. Um, it is amazing. They've already hosted events there before. Um, I see no reason. It's a $2 million prize pool, so mind you that. Oh yeah, here it is. Director of Sports Holding Hostings for a Explore Waterloo, Alistair. Excuse me for butchering the last name, I'm not going to try. Says the boost of hotels, restaurants, and brand deals and more is expected to bring upward of $14 million of revenue locally for a single event.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
and that's beneficial towards organizations in the long run too. Like not even just organizations, towards the Call of Duty League as well. Like there's a reason, and here's the thing. I will admit Riot is an extremely smart company. They wouldn't be running as long as they have without smart investments in being able to produce stuff on a high tier production level. Them releasing a tournament in Toronto that sold out immediately, I can tell you right now that even though this isn't going to be in Toronto, you're going to get fans to go no matter what. Especially in well, cuz even like Toronto Ultra, they have a big fan base. And I'm not going to lie, when's the last time Canada had a Call of Duty LAN? Last year? A couple years ago? Now I have to confirm.
Yeah, good question. I, I'm going through the timelines to figure it out.
Not in a while. Like I don't even think because they've got Vancouver and they've got the Vancouver Surge and they've got yeah, the last one was May of 2024 was the last time that a tournament was hosted for Call of Duty in a turn in Canada, and it was Toronto, but it was a much smaller prize pool, and that was the stage 3 major.
So let me comment as to why I don't like the commentary coming from them. If you have a budget to go to Kitchener, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly,
Mm.
more than likely you've already allocated a certain part of your salary, because I'm looking for an airport near here. You're probably flying into Toronto. It's an hour and some change. Let's say it's an hour and a half to get there. Yeah, sure, that's not great. Yeah, it kind of sucks to get there, but I'm guessing, if I'm taking a wild ass guess here, you're more than likely staying in Toronto. Not just that, you're probably making content in Toronto. More than likely, you have all this squad in Toronto. More than likely, even though you'll see revenue and other stuff inside of Kitchener, most of the teams probably won't even be out of there. I mean, Toronto Ultra literally is called Toronto Ultra for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
they probably have a work building inside of Toronto, either in the suburbs or maybe in downtown. Probably in downtown because they probably gave them a cut. They're probably nowhere near Kitchener. But the thing is, Kitchener, from a Call of Duty League angle, trying to get, let me see, if they're, let's see, Toronto um, Convention Center. There is one. It's right next to the airport in downtown. That shit is probably expensive as shit to run out of. It's probably prohibitively expensive to host an event that will have 20,000 people in it. Maybe the weekend wasn't even available.
I was
So
just about to
don't
ask
blame.
when's the Toronto the Valorant Masters tournament,
Oh, that's a great question.
right? When is
Valorant
that?
Toronto, June,
Is it about the same?
December the 22nd.
When's
I
it?
bet they blocked out those dates to prep for it.
Yeah. I bet you that's exactly what fucking happened. Valorant Masters Toronto 25. 6
Yep.
yep. Yep. Yep.
It
I
that is
guarantee you that's exactly what kind of happened to him. Where is
and
this?
and again, that's nothing against CDL. Let me re-emphasize that. That is not on CDL. More than likely, what that is on is some teams not being aware or because of roster mania. And let me say that's a good thing and a bad thing. But because of roster mania, there's probably an uncertainty of how many people will actually show up to these events. I don't think saying 20,000 people is the most accurate depiction of who will show up. They probably have an average. CDL probably will give them numbers. Um, you'll have even higher numbers from teams when they're doing their proposals for more money and funding to be able to have their little like pyramid schemes run. But like it's only an hour and 13 minutes away. If I were in Toronto right now traveling to Kitchener, it's an hour and 13 minutes. If I am Optic, if I am Complexity, if I am these big organizations, if I'm Toronto Ultra, I am legitimately getting a bus or a high-end car and just getting their ass there and then taking their ass back home because there's a lot of content to be had in Toronto.
Yeah, well, even like I'm looking end date for Valorant Masters is the 22nd, and the start date for the finals is the 27th.
Yep.
So
It's probably
literally
a lot
five
of
days
time here.
after, and that's probably the
Yep.
one stadium, the Enercare Center, and Enercare, I think that's what it's called, Enercare Center. Yeah, I bet you that's the one stadium that they want, like that could have been used, and it Riot owns it for the week, and then they were gonna break down and set up either that, or there was something in between that they just couldn't make work. So them expanding out into another space, like Toronto, yeah, it's a major city, yeah, it's where a lot of the population is, but at the same time, now you enable all those people from Toronto to travel down for the day or however long they're going to be there, and you're allowing for other individuals like in the surrounding area to Kitchener to be able to attend, you know? And even like looking at it like New York, Pennsylvania, like yeah, that's going to be a trip, but at the same time like it's a possible trip for individuals. So you're not just getting like Canadian viewership, you're going to be getting people who are traveling across border in order to get there, you know? And also, like, I'm looking at pictures. I've never heard of Kitchener before, but even like looking at pictures of Kitchener, it's not a bad space, you know? Like, it looks nice.
The auditorium is amazing. I think it's such a cool environment, and they've hosted it there. I think it looks like that is a former event. Yeah, from the majors finals last year. There's a picture I'm looking at from City News everywhere, Kitchener City News.ca. Like they are, like it's cool. I mean, you don't even. Hopefully, we'll just pop out the fucking picture.
Curious, who else plays here?
There you go. Like that's a cool ass stadium. I'm sorry. Like there is no rhyme or reason to be complaining about being in the middle of Kitchener
I'm
because you're
also
gonna go
like
back.
thinking about it for this stadium to be around, you know, I'm they've got to have partnerships with other companies and stuff like that that probably aren't related to what's going on right now, and that's a capitalization aspect. Like you can capitalize on stuff like this.
Oh, 100%.
Why I can't tell if this site is like fucking with me right now. What the hell? But yeah, arenas. And yeah, there's other stuff going on around there. Like I don't know. Cause even then, like I'm thinking about like home team advantage and like yes, it's not in Toronto, so like Toronto Ultra doesn't exactly have the home team, but at the same time, they are. They're only an hour away. You know, that's for a lot of players who travel consistently, that's chump change. So what makes it so bad? Like I don't understand the complaints. You know, be
I
happy that there's a
like.
LAN. Be happy that it's like you're first of all, you're not gonna be overrun with Valorant players thinking you're a Valorant professional, you know?
I mean, yeah. I don't like. Let's say that you even are able to turn around fast to allow Call of Duty to get in there. Okay, and like so you've now booked back-to-back events. I'm pretty sure Riot does not want any sort of influence or understanding or any sort of like conclusions to come to in the fact that they are working in conjunction with Activision. They just don't. They're competitors. Like there's not a thought in my mind that if I was in that position of a marketing manager or someone that ran the facility or even with Riot, yeah, I'm not getting in the middle of this bullshit. If I'm the holder of the or the manager of the auditorium, yeah, hell no, I'm not getting that confused. Because could you imagine everyone being like, guys, I bought a ticket for Valorant Masters, which got sold out immediately, right?
Yeah.
And then accidentally buying on the same website, let's say just the convention website, buying a ticket for Call of Duty instead.
That you have
Yeah,
zero interest in. That would be yikes. Yeah. Even thinking about it as well, like, hmm, I don't know. And here's my thing. And you said the words of that they're competitors. Yes, Call of Duty and Riot are competitors. You know, they both have their own game. They both have their own tack shooter, like maybe more arcade shooter on the Call of Duty side. But genuinely looking at it and thinking about it, if Call of Duty can put on a fantastic show and have great accommodations for the teams, why play in Toronto? If and this is where it comes really a lot of pressure and stress that it could come into for Riot is if Call of Duty puts on a better show and has way better like reviews for it and way better standards, Riot can't make a fuck up. They cannot fuck up at all. Because if they do, everybody's gonna be like, well, why did Call of Duty do better? You know, why are they not in Toronto and how did they do better?
Yeah,
Kira, what did you just tell me? One of the largest video game tournament.
it's just a picture. You don't even need to look.
Okay. Yeah, no, this
But look at
is
that. That's
just
cool.
fine. This is just fine. And even then, like, 2 million in prize, like, that's insane. Compared to the last tournament they had in Canada was only 300,000. With Kitchener now being the first city to ever host outside of the United States. What? Really? Is this the first challengers outside of the United States?
I don't think so. They talked about one being there before, previously last year. I think it might be just an editor's mistake.
Maybe. Because, yeah, there was a major in Toronto. But then again, like, hold on, let me look here. Toronto. Where did I see that? I don't remember where I saw that. S tier events. I mean, even then, looking at this, like, Boston, Miami, and then Toronto, and then Burbank. I can't pronounce that Saudi Arabian city. Riyadh, Riyadh,
Or Riyadh. Riyadh.
Riyadh. Okay, but then Allen, Las Vegas, Allen, Bacon Raton or Boca Raton, Dallas.
Boca Raton.
Thank you. God, my geography's showing it's not fun. But even like only I see one in the past 4 years, right? One, two, three, four. There are three. In the past 4 years, there's only been three tournaments outside of the United States in Canada. And I have a feeling that that was just a bone to throw towards Toronto, you know?
Yep.
Even then, like, I'm trying to think. There's a Vancouver team somewhere in this mix, isn't there? Yeah, Vancouver Surge.
Vancouver. The Surge, yeah. Well, no, the Seattle. It used to be Seattle. Seattle
Yeah, it
Surge.
used to be Seattle, so they moved to Vancouver in the end of all this.
I mean,
And that's
I don't.
and that's Luminosity's team.
I mean, that makes sense. They've been taking control of the Pacific Northwest for a very long time, so good on them. You know.
Well, and even thinking like, and like to point back onto what I said earlier is like, Canada is once again one of those sleeping giants in esports that nobody really like talks about or like says anything about, especially like the Toronto area. Like a lot of individuals up there, like I could tell you 90% of the Smash community in North America are Canada. They're from Canada. Like a lot of the top players. And that's like, I mean, granted, I don't know much about the politics and the uh, investments when it comes down to Canadian investment, but at the same time, like I almost feel like I can say confidently that it's a lot nicer than it is in North America.
Yeah.
And then looking at the same thing on the same side is what yeah most players are from. I mean, like, yeah, you gotta give or take like a lot of North American players, but North American teams are a mixture of Canadian and North American players. Even scrolling through looking through the teams in North America for like Valorant, 100 Thieves has 2 Canadians. Cloud9's all North American. G2 has 1 Canadian. Shopify 1 Canadian, but they also have 2. They have 1 from Thailand and 1 from Denmark, and I almost guarantee you that both those players live in Canada, because that's just usually how it is. I had a whole team of I mean, I guess I'll say they're Ukrainian speaking, but they all lived in Canada. You know, they all were in school in Canada. Yeah, even like famous players like FNS.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think, even like, but that's all I'm saying is like Canada. I feel like nobody is looking that direction because I'm not gonna lie. The last thing I remember about Canada, wasn't there like a big gaming lounge in Toronto that like flopped?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to
There's
remember the
several.
name of it. There has been a couple, but it's because nobody's looking that direction. Like those things could have done really well if they were able to capitalize on their region.
I mean, George St. Pierre was invested into it. I have a personal contact who's no longer in esports right now. Like, I think he's moved on. He ran a major esports org. Um, yeah, it is all within your capability to be able to do this shit. It's just a matter of like knowing what's within your means. That's
Well,
it.
even
I
then,
just
like
don't get why people want to do that.
supporting an esports scene in Canada, like it really can't be all that hard, you know? Because, like I said earlier, it reminds me a lot of the Ohio esports community. Yeah, Ohio is really big into their fighting game community, but not gonna lie, I know that for a fact that Canada's really big into their shooters. You know,
Yeah. Let me see if I can find the org that I genuinely think screwed over. Uh,
I'm even trying to think.
so
I don't know. I don't understand the argument that Kitchener isn't like. I understand the fact that yes, Toronto is a major city. Yes, it's quote unquote like the stomping grounds for everybody, but at the same time, like what's the difference of an hour, you know, and you get a new space and you get to touch on a new community, new possible sponsorships, new possible like it's a whole new networking scene. And at the same time, it's not because people who are really interested in Call of Duty are going to travel to Kitchener because that's what they like. And at the same time, it's only an hour for them compared to traveling 8 or 12 plus hours over to Saudi Arabia. You know, that's chump change for a lot of these players. Now, granted, like I will admit, what most of the Call of Duty scene for North America is Atlanta, Los Angeles, Miami, Texas, and Vegas. Like that's kind of where a lot of the teams are from. But then you've got Cloud9 New York, Boston Breach, Carolina. I still consider a little bit in the South here. Minnesota. Uh, yeah, like half the teams are in northern part, half the teams are in southern part. God, Optic has gone through like 4 different generations. Jesus.
so I'll give you a story about an org that with Montreal. There was a Montreal esports team that I won't name the team that I or organization I was working with because I think you know it and I don't talk about it as
Mm-hmm.
much because it was kind of like a snaked thing. I mean, I don't even care anymore, but like about keeping this out of the eyes of people. But Montreal Esports had reached out and gave the team that I was working with at the time a sweetheart deal where they would have there was a 3 floor. I think it was called the Melt. I think that's what it was called. Let me see.
Oh yeah, I do remember you talking to me about this.
Um, yeah, Cheese Grill, the Melt. Um, I don't even know where it is now, but it was in Canada. I think it was in Canada. It was definitely a restaurant in Canada. I think it was called the Melt, but it was like a cheese place, and what they had was an underground basement. It's they would practice and play in there, and then they would like host events downstairs, and then on the upstairs floors there was like basically like Airbnbs before Airbnb got big, like massive. So that's where the players were going to hang out. They were going to have a content creation suite underneath, and they were going to host events on the main floor, which was the Melt. I think that's what it was called. Yeah, I think that's what it was. They promised the world to this team. Meanwhile, I'm working a deal behind the scenes with full knowledge with somewhat like with the coach at the time. I was the manager, and we had a tier 1 org. And the reason why we call it ghost org, we already talked about ghost orgs, but ghost orgs typically have a major investor that no one really knows about. Even if like they're big, even if they've gotten big, there is a major org. Imagine like Team OG without Red Bull on it, but they had some Red Bull esque looks. That's essentially what. Uh, I mean, if people want to do the research, I guess they can get away with like I can get away with this. 100 Thieves at the time had some signs of who their background investor was. So I went around not to 100 Thieves, but to those said investors, and they were super interested. And their lead esports guy was super interested. We were going to get a contract for each player at 1,200 a month across 6 players for Overwatch. Managers and coaches were going to get 1,000, I think, per month, and then we were going to get room and board, our own team house, um, utilities paid for, um, food I think was paid for, internet was paid for. I'm trying to remember, maybe it was food we had to pay for. I think it was food we had to pay for, so we had to pay for our own meals. We had a team house with 7, 8 bedrooms, so players could have their own bedroom, and then coach and manager and other staff members would share a room, and that was all paid for with like per month. And all we had to do was make content. We had to win, and the Melt had a similar deal, but they never brought the players in. The facility wasn't built out. Oh, they never made the gaming lounge. Oh, well, like when they did make the gaming lounge, it looked kind of ugly, and it looked like an office building with literal, like, like the partitions they have in an office building, kind of like
Yeah,
Severance. Yeah. So, like, how are you supposed to make content look cool in a facility like that?
yeah,
Like in a team house, dude, you you'd wake up your coach, you'd wake up your manager, you dick around with that. Like that's why I kind of go back and mention about players the mockumentary. Like when you're making content in a team house that's just fun, you're just gonna fuck around to make content. Like it's Phase Clan, it's old school optic. Um, it's real shit. And you can't really do that anymore because that requires you to actually like put in some effort. That requires you not to just be a player. You have to think like using our pyramid or using our pillars or using whatever we need to use to describe how to be effective and efficient at making money. No one else is doing it, and we were ready to, but the fact that they wanted a sweetheart deal to live in, I don't even remember where, Montreal, that wasn't even like, it wasn't even a remote thought in their head that eventually they would have to pay for the rooms. That 200 bucks $200 a month was going to be nothing for everything else that they wanted to do. Like, although I couldn't disclose the deal with the players yet until that was like signed, like at a preliminary MOU, a memorandum of understanding from both sides that we were not going to deal in bad faith. Like, my players didn't 100% know, My coach did, even though I violated our terms of our MOU um, with said organization or said investor. But it didn't matter at that point. I needed them on and ready to go to move. So I you just can't go into these things willy nilly. You can't go in like it's the opposite side of the coin we were talking about with like this tournament, right? No one really wanted to be in Montreal. Let's be real. No one wants to be in the middle of. I think I told you what city, right?
Um,
Hold on, let me
I think
check
you
this.
did, but I don't. I'm working at 50%.
Oh, you're good. Here.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I do
Yeah.
remember you talking about that.
Like no one wants to live there. Let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, you know the memes. You know the what the hell is going on in Ohio. Why is there a fucking monster destroying half of Ohio?
Yeah, exactly. Why? Why is the river on fire? Like,
Oh my god. But yeah, here I just don't understand the complaints. Like honestly, esports anywhere is good for esports, you know? The fact that we're still having lands even in this wasteland that we're currently working with is nice. And the fact that people are still willing the developers are still willing to invest in these sorts of areas even if it's maybe not what the players want. I think they're going to regret complaining. You get what
yeah,
like they're going to regret complaining because at the same time like there's yeah, I've seen Toronto. I've seen people do content in Toronto. It's cool, but what about a new change of scenery? What can you do with what's new? You know? And at the same time, like, it's huge for that city alone. Because if they host something opposed to Toronto and now everybody's going to Kitchener, all of those local businesses get the benefits of it. And you grow a scene more in that region. You're supporting a different region, or not even a different region. Like it's the Canadian region or the Northeast Canadian region, but at the same time, like you're growing it. You know, maybe not everybody gets the chance to go out to Toronto and have a hotel there because it's all usually booked out. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's a busy city. It's probably one of the bigger cities in Canada. So having it there, like, is beneficial overall because even those hotels will start getting it. They'll start getting more people involved. They'll get the restaurants that are around there. They're gonna get new people eating there and be like, "Oh crap, this is really freaking good," you know? It's when any publicity event walks into town, like that's beneficial towards the town overall.
and I'll quote the article: $10 million in revenue to the city.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's like a big deal. Like especially for not gonna call Keshner small because I'm not gonna lie, looking at it is not small. It's beneficial no matter what because they're going to be able to do maybe next year they'll come back and I'm not going to lie, you're going to see something new because they were able to invest more into the city. And like
I completely agree.
yeah, I just well, I mean, I'll even use like a similar thing that I can relate to a little bit from this week. Like this week we had uh our annual craft fair. Like it's a big craft fair that people from all around like the states around us come to and like show up to what they have like they've been making on their little Etsy stores and stuff like that. My restaurant alone on Friday and Saturday made an extra grand in sales. And it was just
Oh,
because of
cool.
that event. And like that's That's basically, and think about it on a way larger scale. This is an esports event. There's going to probably be around 10,000 people that show up plus. And even then, like, I mean, I don't know how long it is. How long is the event?
I think over the weekend. I'm correct.
It's a weekend event. Yeah. And even then, like,
Yeah.
usually for that kind of stuff, where it's like a weekend event, they'll have people who buy tickets for the playoffs and groups, and then you've got a whole new group of people coming in for finals. And like that's just good publicity no matter what. I don't care what the players say because I'm not going to lie, the players they're just going there to play the game. Why do you care where you're going to be?
Because they don't want to be in the middle of a city that is not cool, is not hip, doesn't have all their cool shit, isn't going to provide content to them, right? And I'll say it even this way, like Kitchener does not look like the city that will be taken advantage of, right? Like, okay, so if you go to Toronto, if you go to some upscale bougie restaurant that is opening up, they may recognize, I don't know, if Nade was playing, right? If Nade's in town, they may comp his meal, right? In Kitchener, they're not gonna comp that fucking meal, brother. Like, they're looking. I'm gonna be real. They're probably looking for free meals and a free meal ticket wherever they can. They're gonna look for free content to cause some issues, right? They're gonna look for their brothers and sisters and NBs that are in the middle of Toronto that are making content. Go do that on your own. Like, that's not CDL's concern. Full stop. It shouldn't be their concern. They're having to deal with their own monetization stuff to make sure you guys are soluble so you can get another tournament.
What the fuck? All right. I'm kind of moving on a little bit just cuz I
Good,
have some complaints from the week. All right.
good. Send it.
I'm about to call out fucking this. So I told you I ordered all of my sets, right? I think I mentioned that last
Oh
week on
yeah.
the podcast, right?
Hmm.
Did I tell you that they sent me wrong cards?
You did tell me privately. I don't think that was on live.
So they sent me. So I ordered from TCG Player Direct. Um. Okay. All right. I half complaining here because I just got a message back. So I ordered from TCG Player. They do this thing called TCG Direct where they basically take all the companies that do TCG Player sell their cards, send it to TCG, and then they send it out to you to confirm that everything is in correct condition and the correct cards that you order, right? They sent me 3 wrong cards, like completely wrong. Even going through TCG Direct, they were like, "Yeah, these are right," and sent them out to me. Now I have to resend them, which, first of all, waste of my time. Really upset about it. Today, I got my second package. My second package was supposed to be the rest of my other set, my Paradox Rift set. Now, I'm not going to complain directly because I did just receive a message and saying that they were going to send me the right thing and get it out to me tomorrow. But I got a fourth wrong card from a separate seller on TCG Player.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
I'm low key done just ordering cards online. Like, that just seems ridiculous to me. Um, so yeah, and then I got a message from TC. I'm not gonna lie, I made a stink on social media because why not? Not gonna lie, and I got a message from TCG Player like, sorry about your customer experience. We'd love to help you out. It's like you did answer my message already, but you kind of told me that you didn't have the cards any that I was looking for, and to just send back what you sent me. Wasting my time, wasting my money, and just overall like don't send me message the customer that you are don't have the product and try to come with a resolution before just sending shit off. I get it if you don't have the product, but let me know. Don't let me just discover it when I pull out the package and I'm excited to finish what I'm doing. So that upset me this week.
so do you think there's an easy solution to dealing with like that type of stock? Does that make sense? Like, could there be like a full like check in check out process for them to make sure that they have what they're selling in stock, or is that too difficult? Do you think to implement?
The thing with TCG players is that it's vendor operated. So basically, TCG Player is just the host website for them, and a lot of these vendors just sign up, and then TCG will ask for the cards from those vendors. So it's really like, and I'm not calling out anybody in particular, but it's the vendor's fault in the long run of it all. But TCG players should be coming up with a way for quality control, because hell, I could have been sent a card that was folded in half, and they probably wouldn't have even realized it. So my I don't find a solution to it, just because the issue is that it's either you order directly from the vendors from their websites or their stores, which I'm not going to lie, being where I am now, I literally traveled down to North Carolina because there's not enough card stores in my state, you know? And that's my issue, is that I want to be a part of this hobby, be a part of it, and do my collections, but I can't because of this limitation. So I have to go onto these websites or this website to be able to order stuff, because I'm not going to travel over to frickin' San Diego to go do card shopping for thousands of dollars and then just fly back after spending thousands of dollars on cards, you know?
Yeah.
So and I'm not gonna lie, TCG Player is the only website that I know of personally that actively sells these cards. Or I can just go on eBay, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna go to eBay and order 8 individual cards from 8 individual people. I would like them as a bundle, you know, and that's where I thought this would be a nice thing to do, you know. So I don't really have an answer for avoiding this problem, but at the same time, if you're making it so that the vendors have to send it to you so that you can see that it's correct, you should double check that it's correct. You know, where's the quality control there?
And I guess that's my thing. How do we ensure that it like I, the best thing I can think of is doing an Amazon warehouse situation where vendors have to or storefronts have to send it to said website ownership, right? They have to have an inventory. They do their own OCR, like screen read, make sure that everything is as it's supposed to be, right? Scan in, scan out, and then they distribute the cards the way it's supposed to. But the infrastructuring for that is fucking ridiculous. I could not imagine dealing with that bullshit.
Well, and even then, I feel like it takes longer. Granted, Amazon for whatever reason has godly service and is able to get things out quickly, but I mean, I've waited almost a full week now for these cards, you know. And granted, I will blame the landfill service, excuse me, the United Postal Service, for being tardy on a lot of their deliveries, because I've had severe problems with the United Postal Service before. But it you should I feel like that they should have the stock, you know. Don't be Because Amazon has the stock, you know. Most of the time, they already have those items in a warehouse somewhere. Most of the time, those vendors had already sent them the product that they're selling. That's how they're able to get it so fast. Is that people strictly sell off Amazon because they can just send it to their warehouse and be like, all right, you have a stock of 100 of these. All right, we're running low. I need more. All right, here you go. You know, and they'll store it for you. My restaurant, actually, we work through a distribution company for some of our food items that we custom make as a company, and we just rent out spaces in their warehouse in order to keep that product in stock. And when it runs out, they let us know, we make more, and then it gets shipped to the warehouse so that they can do quick shipping and efficient across all of our restaurants. And I don't think TCG Player does that. I think they literally give the invoice to whatever vendor it is, say we need these cards, the vendor sends it to them, and then they're just like, all right, we'll ship it out to that person. So it's a longer process too, which I mean, I really can't complain, but I'm gonna complain because most of the time, like, I would like those to come in efficiently and correctly, you know? And the service, I mean, doesn't seem efficient, you know? What the hell is this? And the only way I could really think to solve that is be like an Amazon, is keep like purchase, have vendors purchase, place in warehouse, and keep stock there. But at the same time, cards are really hard to do that with because there's new sets. You're opening packs all the time as a vendor. Like I'm my local card store. Every time I walk in there, I'm not gonna lie, I see those guys opening packs every fucking time. you know, that's all they do on their. I mean, maybe not all they do on their free time, but a lot of the free time is that. Although I will say, I'm completely going off the rails here completely tonight,
Well,
but
I'm interested because I think, to me, with such a highly dedicated community, you think there would be infrastructure and guardrails in place that would be so built up and so efficient as to ensure that people are getting what they're paying for, when they're paying for, and how they're paying for it.
well,
And I'm
even
saying it that way because it's important.
even
Like
what I will
everything,
say is that this is my first experience with TCG Player. My first experience. I have never ordered cards online. I have always gone to my local card stores and looked for the cards I'm looking for. This is my first experience with them. And I'm already done. I already don't want to do it, you know? And that sucks. It makes me wonder how many times this has happened across the board to other individuals. And the fact that the TCG community has been around for so long and the infrastructure is this, it seems a little crazy to me that there's nothing else. Like I mean, I have this other app that I use, but I'm not gonna lie, every time I click on like a card that I'm looking for or whatever, it just redirects me to eBay, you know? And it's like I said earlier, I don't wanna order single cards across 8 different vendors for eBay. I want it to come all at once together, nicely packaged, you know? Like that's what it should be. And I'm not going to deny like TCG Player, they threw it all in a hard like a top loader and had a sleeve around it. Like it was nicely packaged, but it was wrong. There was no assurance that I was getting exactly what I had asked for. And I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of pissed I have to send the cards back. And not
yeah,
to, I have to send them back
they
and they don't even have the product. They don't even have the
I
product I'm
think
looking for.
they should refund and give you the product, or let you keep the product at that point.
And here's the other thing is the 3 cards I'm missing. First of all, way overcharged for them. Like I bought them at maybe a 250% markup from what they ideally should be at market. And granted, I knew what risk I was taking. I saw the price and I knew exactly what was happening. But you would think if I'm purchasing at almost a 200 to 300% markup on the market price of it, you would make sure for a fact that they are good. It is exactly what the customer had asked for. Because I mean, I bought 3 common cards, and all of them were pretty much common cards, except for 3 of them. And even then, those were $15, $20 cards that I had purchased, and I got those, but they couldn't get it together for the commons at all. So I'm a little bit perturbed about it. So if you use TCG Player, whoever's watching here, just pay attention to what you're ordering, because at the same time, their website is horrid, absolutely horrid. I Every time I go onto it, I get confused. There's too many vendors on there, and you could purchase from non-verified vendors, verified vendors, TCG Direct, or TCG Warehouse, or like their own like website or their own store. it just gets so confusing. And then like they have an optimize your cart button, but at the same time, when you click that optimize your cart button, it picks out from 6 different vendors, and then you have to wait for them all to ship it to TCG, and then you have to wait for it to ship to you, which usually takes about a week and a half. So I don't really have an answer for it, but at the same time, like I God fucking wish there was an answer for it. Because this was my first experience, and I've honestly been looking at TCG Player for a while now, trying to order cards. But every time I go to do it, I get confused. I get lost, and I try to order, and it just doesn't feel right. You know, because you also have to when you're scrolling through, you have to look through like say I'm looking to order 3 cards right now from Pokéraptor. I had to go to their storefront on TCG Player, look up each individual card underneath their storefront to guarantee that they had each individual card that I was missing. And then if they didn't, I would have to go to a different storefront and hope that they had all 3 cards. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get like their free shipping or their standard shipping or it's ridiculous. I get a headache every time I think of it. But I think that leads us a little bit into your weekly thing that you like to ask. What have you been listening to this week, Sam?
Oh God, let me open my music and I'll figure it out. Hold on.
I already,
Music.
I think I got mine locked and loaded. Hold on. I just got to double check. Hold on. Let me look at my recent played. Wait, where the fuck is my recent played? How do I view Spotify? Is there a home button to Spotify? Yeah, there is.
I don't use Spotify, brother. I'm a boomer.
Wait, what do you use? Am I about to call you out live on stream here? uh, no, mine was
Gotta get ready to add some music to the playlist.
yeah, you're ready for it. Oh, I remember what it was. Yep. All right. This is what I literally was listening to the song like on Wednesday. I was like, you know what? This is the song that I put on this playlist because it's a bop. Especially with like their recent release being like as different as it has been. But I asked you first, so
Oh man. Okay, so I've got Cats Can Surf by Kayla Grace.
cats can surf. All right. I'll have to. Cats. Okay. All right. Mine's a left field fucking
Okay,
one.
I'm ready.
Can you feel my heart by Bring Me the Horizon? It is definitely a throwback to middle school George, but I'm not gonna lie, it's been bopping this past week. It's definitely I don't want to say it's emo song, but it's definitely like
Oh yeah.
that screamo kind of style, you know? Oh yeah, that has been what's been bopping to me. Although I just scrolled through and just saw another song that I was bopping to earlier this week
Okay,
too.
send it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It was In the End by Black Veil Brides. I've been listening to a lot of older music that I used to listen to, but this song is like, I was screaming this on Friday night as I was getting absolutely destroyed on the grill line. But yeah, those are. I usually give 2 songs, I guess. So there's my 2 songs.
What? I've got a second one. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me see. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Garamond by Arb's Length.
I'm gonna look up Arm's Length because I could not spell that shit.
It's Garamond.
I don't think they're on Spotify. Mond.
G
Oh,
A
Garrett.
R
I found it. I
A.
found it.
Yeah.
I can't spell. That's all it is.
Same.
All right. Well, I'm gonna cut it here for somehow we manage. It's been a great week. I promise this week or upcoming next week, stay tuned to the X account. There will be a few announcements um in regards to what's happening next week. I think you guys will have a good time and more content coming your way. Always follow us on SWM Podcast on YouTube and everywhere else. It is Podcast SWM. Still trying to figure out that YouTube thing. I did get a no, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna keep fighting it. I'm pestered until they give up. All right, we will get that name one of these days here. But yeah, thank you everybody who came to watch. As per always, I appreciate you, Sam, for showing up.
Thank you, boss. Appreciate you.
All right, everybody have a good night. Thank you.